What's going on, people? Today I wanted to give you 3 reasons why I think buy-to-let, at least in a traditional sense, is dead. Stay tuned. Look, so I don't want you guys to go into this video thinking that I'm just going to batter buy-to-let, but when I say it's dead, I mean in its traditional sense of, going to the local estate agent and just purchasing a house, not doing too much due diligence into it and just thinking, look, it's a good investment because it's real estate. Real estate has been a place where everyone sort of parks their money, for either cash flow or capital gain, whatever it is. I just don't think the traditional way of getting a buy-to-let is, as profitable anymore. Reason number 1 being that the government has got involved tremendously over the last few years. Who knew that there would be a 3% surcharge on buy-to-let? In some areas you got to spend 500 quid to £1,000 so you can essentially just run a buy-to-let, get a license for a buy-to-let. And finally, who would have known that the buy-to-let property industry would be the only business in the UK that gets taxed on turnover and not profit? I mean, it's crazy. Reason number 2 is the legislation around it, right? It was the amount of money as a landlord you'd have to spend on gas, safety, insurance, finance, the mortgage. And now we don't even have the ability to increase the profitability of our property via turning it into a HMO, for example. There's Article 4 directions where the average person probably would not even look into it and would just purchase a property and get stuck. So that's where I meant that you need to do your due diligence. The average landlord wouldn't look into that. And finally, nowadays, you've got to put in a lot more work into the safety of a property than you would your own property, and that's just my own outlook. But say a property is 10-15 years old, now you need to get an electrician to come by, make sure and survey the house that you're planning to let out. And if sometimes it's dated, you just got to rewire the house. You might have to rewire the house. And buy-to-lets are not known for the great amount of cash flow or profit there is in a monthly rent. So paying for just the initial costs of finance and gas and safety and then electricity as well, these electrical surveys as well, you could lose out on 6 months of profit depending on where you bought your property. And that's where it's just not worth the hassle anymore, especially if it's a single let. Reason number 3, and I think it's quite big considering, right, is that landlords are just not protected anymore. Of course we've got to look after the tenants, I mean that's key, but if you're stuck with a bad tenant and you're in a sticky situation, the tenants are everything in regards to the new laws. So it's just too much risk, I think, for buy-to-let. There's just better opportunities. Say for example you miss out one piece of paperwork, you're not a lawyer, you're not a solicitor, so look, you miss out a piece of paperwork and they say the tenant's not paying rent, and you take it to the judge could throw it out just because you missed out a tiny bit of paperwork. If the tenant is clued on, or he knows and he's running, he just knows the way around the law, he could get away with, staying in the property for 10 months where you are getting no money from rent and you still have to upkeep the standard of the property, so run maintenance on it. And after 10 months, that's about the time you would have spent money on court fees and got a bailiff out. That's my main 3 reasons why I think buy-to-lets are just not something I would personally go into, and I think personally the market is dead. So look, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you've taken value from this video, please do give us a like, it keeps us going, and smash that subscribe button so it keeps me putting out content to help you guys and others like you. You know what, I've got a couple extra reasons to throw at you, probably not as important, but look, it's just not as profitable also because financing is not the same as it was before, 10 years back. You could get 85% loan to value. I think you might be able to get 80 here and there, but the interest rates are huge and, it's just not the same anymore. And this is before I started investing. You could get buy-to-let interest rates at 0.5, maybe 1% over the base rate, Bank of England base rate. Now you're looking at 4% over, Back in the day before the recession, the last recession, I mean, it used to be 4-5% altogether. Now we're looking at circa maybe the same, but base rates like 1%, less than 1%, So even though you might think it levels out, say it does go up to 5, then you're paying 10% interest rate. So you have to have, especially as a buy-to-let investor now, you need to be thinking about what happens if the interest rate goes up. You need to give yourself enough leeway and, you know, enough profit in that property. So there's a lot more DD to be done to be safe buy-to-let properties. Finally, historically, capital growth has been key. You know, I used to say, and I still probably say that, is every 10 to 20 years, that's predominantly 10 years, the price of a property doubles essentially. And that's just stopped since, I think, slowed down at least since 2008, the last recession. So when people are buying properties, speculating on, you know, the capital growth based on history, it's just not given the same amount. And historically, people bought properties for the capital growth, you know, if wait for 20, 30 years, and that properties, you know, tripled, quadrupled in price. So these are important factors to think about when buying a property. Look, that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Smash the like again, please, and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.
Listen.